As my year as IFoA president comes to an end, it is time for me to reflect on the experiences I've had, the events that have made my year unique, and the progress we are making in changing both the actuarial profession and the IFoA itself. Although it is obvious, it is worth recording that I'm the first IFoA president to serve my entire year virtually. I've not been back to the United Kingdom since the 22nd of January, some 17 months ago. I was inaugurated on Zoom, and I hand over my office to Louis Pryor today, also on Zoom. Almost everything I've done in the last 17 months have been via screens or social media, and this is likely to continue for the rest of this year. Initially, this seems like it might be a constraint on my year, but in reality, it has enabled increased productivity and engagement, better access to our members all across the world, and of course, a catalyst for some rapid pivots to the digital-first mindset across the IFoA. The pandemic has clearly been the dominant issue of my term. I'm immensely proud of how we as actuaries have responded to this existential crisis for humanity and the contribution we have collectively made in addressing it. The pandemic also gave us all a chance to see with clarity what our priorities should be and make the case for change set out in our strategy more clearly than any protracted debate could have done. This means we have embraced changes, making changes in how we think about learning, about where actuaries will be working in the coming years, and about how rapidly the IFoA itself needs to change. The progress we have made has been greater than we could have imagined 12 months ago. Some achievements are indeed groundbreaking, but we still have some way to go to bring the notion of a truly culturally transformed IFoA alive to our members. One of my most enjoyable responsibilities in my presidential year has been my participation in the curation of the inaugural IFoA's Thought Leadership Program 2021. In my presidential address a year ago, I said one of my priorities was to revive the spirit of a learned society and bring thought leadership to the foreground. The migration of many of our collective conversations to online platforms caused by the COVID-19 pandemic enabled us to do this quickly and was pivotal in bringing this priority alive. The bold and memorable examples set by the COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group and the ideas generated and posted by the Actuaries for Transformational Change helped to create a context for change. In the meantime, as I have noted, the IFoA itself was already changing. Governance changes were leading to the unwinding of the Research and Thought Leadership Board and some other corporate boards. A motivated executive team was willing to experiment on how best IFoA can be the voice of the profession and enable its members to step out of the shadows. The generous sponsorship by Dr. Patrick Pone gave the Thought Leadership Program further impetus as it enabled us to expand more resources in that direction. Ultimately, the leadership team and the council was encouraging in advocating that the profession should be bolder to ensure the voice of the profession be more influential in this troubling time. All the above happened in the face of humanity's greatest crisis of our lifetime. I know that a single swallow does not a summer make, and a series of events will not reposition the profession and extend our influence on its own. But this series of events does bring thought leadership capabilities of actuaries to the foreground and reposition IFoA at the center of societal debates. It does provide a forum and voice for actuaries in addressing not only pressing and public interest social problems, but also the strategic issues confronting the IFoA and the profession. If you continue to persevere, celebrate, and bring thought leadership to the foreground, and change the way we think about ourselves, we will begin to change and extend our influence. On that note, I move to my final responsibility as your outgoing president to award the President Awards. In many ways, my 13 awards reflect the themes of my remarks today, recognizing the groups and individuals who have helped me personally throughout my presidential year. The first President's Award goes to a group, the COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group. In recognition of the group's leadership in spearheading the actuarial profession's speedy response to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020-2021, in a manner that raised the profile and reputation of the IFoA and the profession in an outstanding manner. The members of the COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group are Adrian Besker, Matthew Edwards, Matthew Fletcher, Andrew Gash, Adele Groyer, Stephen Kramer, Joseph Liu, you got to move to the next slide, Nikki, Stuart McDonald, Nicola Oliver, Adrian Piddington, John Roberts, Josephine Robertson, Louis Rostow, Dan Ryan, Gordon Hu. The second President Award is on an individual basis, and it goes to Stuart McDonald in recognition of his compelling actuarial voice in the fight against COVID-19 crisis in 2020-2021. He articulated the profession's assessment of the unfolding pandemic to a wide, non-specialist public with clarity, insight, and humility. He has been instrumental in building a large and favorable media presence in the social and national media for the IFoA and the profession. He's also the founding co-chair of the COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group. The third President's Award goes to Matthew Edwards in recognition of his intellectual integrity, imagination, and breadth of thinking in building and connecting the work across a number of different actuarial groups, each responding to the COVID-19 crisis in different ways. The COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group, the Continuous Mortality Investigation, the CMI, and the IFoA's Longevity Bulletin. Matthew is the founding co-chair of the COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group, chair of the IFoA CMI, and editor of the IFoA's Longevity Bulletin. The fourth President Award goes to Nicola Oliver in recognition of her extraordinary commitment, medical expertise, sense of care, and professionalism in her dedicated collaboration with the IFoA over the past 5 years. Nicola is the co-chair of the COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group, chair of the IFoA Diabetes Working Party, a member of the IFoA COVID-19 Action Task Force, and of the IFoA's Health Board. The fifth award goes to Colin Dutkiewicz in recognition of his leadership of the IFoA COVID-19 Action Task Force, ICAT. ICAT coordinated the IFoA's response to the pandemic in 2021 and experimented with new ways of working and member engagement. Its successes included mobilizing more than 500 volunteers across 92 work streams and providing practical and valuable content to members in all practical areas. Colin was also instrumental in organizing the highly praised Actuarial Innovation in COVID-19 Era webinar series in 2021. The next President Award goes to a group, the Actuaries for Transformational Change. In recognition of the group's collective vision, courage, and thought leadership in bringing the many strands of thinking within the profession together and providing an impetus for debates and change in the profession. The group's work has influenced my priorities as president and found expression in the IFoA's Thought Leadership Program and in the IFoA's feedback and dialogues with regulators. The members of the Actuaries for Transformational Change are Sam Achord, Nico Espinal, Oliver Bettis, Neil Kentel, Ashok Gupta, Louise Pryor, Lucy Say, Nick Silver, Nick Spencer, and Martin White. The 7th President Award is the Alan Watson Award, and it goes to Sam Achord in recognition of his intellectual rigor and cross-disciplinary synthesis in regulation, systems thinking, and new economics in the deliberations at the Actuaries for Transformational Change. The Alan Watson Award was created last year in memory of Alan Watson, and it recognizes significant contribution to the profession, which is often unseen and unsung, and Sam's tireless work behind the scenes personifies this. The 8th President's Award goes to Andrew Smith in recognition of his pivotal role in Project Moonshot, the implementation plan of the IFoA's VSMD strategy, Vision, Skill Set, Mindsets, and Domain Strategy in the summer of 2020, and his thought leadership and sterling track record on financial modeling and financial economics over a sustained period of more than 25 years. The 9th President's Award goes to Charles Cowling in recognition of his thought leadership and indefatigable stewardship of the profession over 25 years. This is most manifest in Charles' pioneering and seminal work on discounting, and more recently in his extensive contribution to the development of IFoA's governance and strategy. The 10th President's Award goes to Patrick Poon in recognition of his philanthropy, support, and vision for the IFoA and profession over 4 decades, and in particular for being the chief philanthropist of the IFoA's Foundation's China and Southeast Asia Fund, and the chief sponsor of the inaugural IFoA's Thought Leadership Program in 2021. The 11th President Award goes to a member of staff, Jo Jones, in recognition of her exemplary dedication as a member of staff and as a compelling symbol of cultural change in the IFoA. Jo exemplified tip 13 of my 61 tips for young actuaries. Be the go-to person in your workplace. Use CADIF, C-A-D-I-F, committed, attention to detail, immediate follow-up. The 12th President's Award goes to Nico Espinal in recognition of his conceptual clarity, moral courage in all the positions he has held in the service of the IFoA and the profession. Nico has been my kindred spirit and fellow traveler in an intellectual journey to rediscover the profession's purpose and in addressing the systemic sustainability challenges of our time. Lastly, the 13th President's Award goes to Gillian Stamp in recognition of her being the ever-present and sage sounding board to me, with particular reference to my reflections on purpose, governance, culture, and capabilities of the IFoA and the profession. Gillian has been a significant influence in my journey in the last 10 years. So with this pleasant task concluded, I would like to close my presidential year by extending my sincere thanks to my presidential team colleagues, John Taylor and Louise Pryor, for their valued support and constructive challenge at times throughout the year. And to Graham Stott, the tireless chair of our management board, and Stephen Mann and the executive team within the IFoA, all of whom have worked diligently to support me over the past 12 months. I'm very grateful to you all. There's only one thing remaining for me to do as president, which is to formally hand over the chains of office to Louise Pryor as the incoming president of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. I would now like to ask the new president of the IFoA to take over as chair of the annual general meeting. Louise.